Let me explain how this is going to work. I've gone through all 92 and split them up into certain regions. So this is really, really easy with some places like Yorkshire or North East or South Coast. But some are more difficult than others, such as trying to place Stevenage, Grimsby, Gillingham, places like that into a certain region that I can make a video on. So after splitting every region up into a clump of teams that I can make a video out of, we're looking at something like this. Now, the premise of all these videos is going to be looking at each region and the teams within it and ranking them in order of who I think will have the best season in their respective leagues. And we're going to start with best and brightest. God's Own Yorkshire is first up. So, obviously, the Yorkshire sides that we've got are Leeds, Wednesday, Sheffield United, Hull, Huddersfield, Barnsley, Bradford, Donny, Rotherham, and Harrogate. There's 10. And we're going to go bottom to top, 10th to 1st, in terms of where I realistically think all these teams will finish in the respective leagues. And I hate to do it to them, but in 10th place, I've got Sheffield Wednesday. You can't even say that that's a biased thing, right? The embargo stuff, the Chancery side of things, the severe lack of incomings have brought nobody in at time of me recording this. The biggest asset that Wednesday have had for the last couple of years is rolled by an absolute landslide, who has disappeared for the past month and then come in with his tail between his legs. I know he's back now, and that's realistically the only thing that matters, but I don't think the players are going to be able to buy into something from a man who clearly doesn't value them. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen it to that extent where a manager is just downright refusing to come back and only has to come back now to try and play it out. His PR team have done a wonder, haven't they? To play it off as though, oh, new owners are coming in, I'm going to come back now. Instead of the actual fact, which is that he's applied for every single job on Indeed and come back empty-handed, which is why he's got to stay at Wednesday. He's not going to resign, is he? So I think the players will struggle with that aspect anyway, especially if they have like quite a slow start. They've got a fairly difficult fixture list to start anyway. And partner that with the fact that the quality throughout the squad is very, very low. Apart from odd few exceptions, which you'd imagine to all leave, the general level for the Wednesday squad is so poor. And there's nothing they can do to bring players in. They're under an embargo. The only thing they can do is sign free agents or loans, but the free agents have to be on £7,000 a week, which goes completely against what Wednesday are, which is signing absolute shite like Ugbo on 25 plus. You've got players like Musaba, who's gone, Gassama, who's effectively gone to Rangers, someone like Windass, like all these players are all likely to leave or have gone already. And then you're left with scraps of a very, very poor squad. Roll overachieved with this squad massively anyway for 2 years that they've been back at Championship. But that's because he had like odd player like that had serious quality about him. All the quality that they've got is hard to do. Defensively, they're horrendous, which comes from, I don't rate Beadle, me personally. I know I've said this to Birmingham fans as well. I don't rate Beadle, me myself. But the defensive front to him is horrendous. And the play style that Roll plays does lean into that a little bit. You're expected to play out front back. With players that aren't good enough, you are going to have mistakes that lead to goals on back creators. It's just part and parcel of that style of football. But I think the lack of incomings is just going to be the ultimate downfall, me personally. Obviously, they've brought nobody in so far, in the £7,000 a week wage cap at Championship level. Any half-decent footballer is going to get double that at somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? The only thing that I think could save them is if a takeover comes in with a couple of weeks left of this transfer window, and then maybe the embargoes get lifted and they can somehow bring players in time. Or if they're not 20 points clear of fourth bottom in January, maybe the January signings could come in and do something. But I think it's a very tough league down at bottom. Some smaller sides are making very good sides. Someone like Oxford are bringing in serious quality that Wednesday just ain't got now. 2 at 3 coming up are just miles better than them anyway. Birmingham just be 20 places in front of Wednesday at least. Wrexham are going to be well in front. Charlton are making better signings than Wednesday have got at club anyway. I just think, everything included, I struggle to see Wednesday even finishing close to fourth bottom. I think at minute, and I know it's harsh, but I think at minute Wednesday look an absolute dead cert to finish last in their respective league. So 10th for me in Yorkshire next season is Wednesday. But not by much, because 9th I've got Leeds. They're obviously promoted last season, and Leeds, in terms of this region, Leeds are the best team in Yorkshire by a mile. Right now, they're the absolute best. So putting them 9th, you're probably sat there thinking, why? Because per position, Leeds have got it the hardest out of everybody. The 3 teams that go up to Premier League these days, you've got to have God himself stood in every position up pitch if you want to have a chance of survival, and Leeds just have not got that. It's same for Sunderland and Burnley as well, same as it was at 3 last year. It's at least 4 seasons in a row now where all the other 17 teams are picking up minimum £100 million more than everybody else in the EFL. So you just can't compete with that shit, man. You can't compete with it. I do actually think that Wednesday have probably got an higher chance of survival, like based on the potential if the ownership comes in time and stuff like that. But I think Wednesday at minute are a cert to finish last, whereas I think Leeds will finish second or third bottom. instead. I don't think they'll finish last. The gap is just too big. I've said this many a times. It doesn't need to be touched on again. And there's still a long time at window yet, but the signings that they've made, Leeds, aren't overly impressive for Premier League standard. If we're talking about next season when they come down again, fantastic. But you're looking at the other players that these Prem sides have got, and these aren't even scratching surface, the boys that Leeds are bringing in so far. The other 17 teams are just so much stronger. I think Sunderland have shown more than Leeds so far. I know there's a long time left, but I can only see one thing coming with Leeds, and that is relegation as well. So, out of the 10 teams in Yorkshire going into the season so far, the first two, Wednesday and Leeds, I've got both getting relegated from their leagues. 8th place. Now, I think these will survive, but I've got Hull. There's obviously an embargo hanging over their head as well, and the owner said that there's no cash flow problem, which I don't believe him as far as I can throw him, because the reason that they're in an embargo is because of the cash flow problem, plus the lack of payment to a Premier League side for a loan, I believe. I'm assuming it's Villa. All spend money like it's going out of fashion. The financial decisions that they make are honestly horrendous. Last few seasons, Hull have spent millions on loans. Millions and millions and millions of pounds on loan fees. They're paying out a lot on sacking good managers that have got a long time left on the contract, especially Ruben Sellers. The decision making from top is just horrendous. Like, look, going back to the manager thing, you look at the two at the start. Rosenwald's gone to Strasbourg and he's going to Europe in France. And now if he comes back to this country, it's going to be top end at Championship or a Premier League move. And then Ruben Sellers has gone to Sheffield United. We're in a miles better position than Hull are. They're idiots. And I thought Hull did get quite unlucky with the injuries to the forward line last season. They've got a lot of young players, potentials there, obviously. And I've got no idea about this gaffer, so I can't say really anything about the place how they're going to go. But defensively, I just assume that they'll get worse, because that is Sellers' strong point, the defensive side of things and what he can turn teams into. He did it at Reading. He brought Bindon through for Reading, and obviously got the Forest sale. But now he's on loan at Sheffield United with him again. So that's what he thinks of him, that he's a top Championship centre-half, and he brought him through. And after a mixed start as well at Hull, look at someone like Charlie Hughes. Like, he was always going to be a success anyway. He was a natural replacement for Greaves, coming from Wigan. He was very good at Wigan as well. And he's a very good defender anyway. But he got so much better as well as the season went on, under Sellers' wing. This is just what he can do from a defensive side of things, and you've got rid of that. And I don't think Hull will go down or even be in a relegation battle, really, just based on a lot of the forwards that were injured last season are going to come back and be seen as new signings anyway, aren't they? But I can see them being in and around, like, somewhere about 18th. I think they'll be safe-ish and not really in any sort of relegation battle. But they're not going to be any further up table, I don't think. Same as Harrogate as well. Now, while ever Harrogate actually stay up in EFL, it's a good thing. Because when have they even been in EFL before, 2020 when they got promoted in first place? Every year since they have come up, they've stayed in league quite comfortably as well. Obviously, apart from one season when they finished 13th, the other four have finished between 17th and 19th. So I'm just going off the same thing again, that they'll finish in and around the same area. They have brought Mason Bennett in as well, which is a decent signing. He's only 29, by the way, Mason Bennett. I thought he was about 40. I don't know enough about them or that area of League Two to make a informed opinion on it. But I just think they'll be roughly in the same region as they have been for the last few years, and as Hull in their respective division. I just think they'll be marginally higher. I've got Harrogate in 7th for Yorkshire next season. Moving into 6th, I've got the first of 4 League One sides, and it is not one that has been promoted last season from League Two. I've got Rotherham in 6th. Now, I think Rotherham will be bottom half, but safe enough just based on some of the bits of quality that they have got in squad, which is reducing day on day, but they've still got enough there, I think, to survive. But when you look at the squad that they had last year, you've got Nombe up front, who's a top League One standard footballer. He really is. I've said it many times. I went home and away to Rotherham last year. He were a massive, massive standout in a very poor squad. If they keep him, they'll be absolutely fine. They've lost a Dauphin, who, again, stand out in defensive side of things. He's gone to Luton on a free transfer. Again, top-end League One player. They had someone like Sibley as well, who didn't do a great deal, but I don't think it helps that apart from odd play that Rotherham have got, like them three that I've just mentioned, rest of them are shite. The contrasting quality in this 11 and this squad in general is ridiculous. It's so up and down, looking by position. I've genuinely never seen out like it. A Dauphin leaving is going to be very tough to replace as well. And Rotherham notoriously just don't spend a lot of money anyway. I think Nombe is the record signing at about £1 million. They don't spend a lot anyway. But I think they'll need to sell Nombe, really, if they are going to spend anything. And if they do sell Nombe, they're obviously only going to sell if they get more than £1 million one they actually paid, which they're not going to get, really. So I think even if they sell Nombe, there's a serious chance that they could be down in and around near bottom, like 8-ish anyway, Rotherham. I do worry about them a little bit, you know. I really do. I think at least 2 or 3 coming up will be above them, at least. And Donny being one of them. to be honest. I think these will be in the same sort of area at table. Bottom half, again, but safe enough to be away from any sort of dogfight down at bottom. Grant McCann is a very good manager. A very good manager. How he acts and how he speaks, like, these just aren't coming up to make numbers up, Donny, I don't think. I don't think he's expecting him to come up and be in a relegation fight. I think he expects him to be in and around mid-table. And with the odd bits of quality that they've got, same as Rotherham, really, but I think Donny's quality that they've retained so far is better than that of what Rotherham have got. Molyneux, I expect him to just come in and hit ground running. Honestly, I think it's same as Keeler done really last year for Mansfield. Obviously, come to Barnsley straight away and he did the same thing with us. But I think Molyneux, the gap between League 1 and 2, McGoldrick said it in his interview when he signed for us, the gap, apart from top end of League 1, the gap between League 1 and 2 is not that big. And I agree from the bits that I've seen. So I think Molyneux could come in and just carry on as normal, really, just business as usual. That Jay McGrath as well, the rejected 500 grand for, apparently, that centre-half that they've got, the defender. Some of the newly promoted sides just won't do. They won't reject something like 500 grand, especially for a defender. I think that shows the ambitious side of them and what they've got. He's only got a year left on his contract, I believe. Maybe they've got an option as well. But 500 grand for a defender when they've just come up from League 2. Take some balls to reject that. Now, I know they went for Malik Wilkes on a free a few times. Obviously, Grant McCann's a big fan of him. He's had him a couple of times. And he's gone to Turkey as well. But they wanted him. They did want him. And I think Donny just coming up already looked better than a lot of bottom sides. Like, safe easily. No in it, Tom, don't get me wrong. But I think it's just very Rotherham. I just think they're marginally better. So that's Donny and Rotherham. Same as Harrogate and Hull, really. But just further away from any sort of potential relegation battle. Now, going into fourth for Yorkshire, I have got Bradford. I think that's fairly easy to say with the 3 that's left. Bradford, another one that got promoted last season with last kick at game. Probably best limbs I've ever seen in my life. And Bradford have obviously, and they're showing it so far, they've obviously got more money than someone like Donny or, honestly, maybe even someone like Rotherham at this point. And some other sides near bottom end of the table in League 1. They've just got more money than them. And they're showing it very early doors. Humphreys, that they've got on a free from Barnsley, is top draw. It really is. If you get him on wing, if you actually play him in his position, a touchline, you will struggle to get a better winger in this division than him. But Bradford don't play that. So if he's actually going to be a straight down middle number 9, or maybe he's one that just peels off slightly behind, I don't know. But you need to get him as wide as you possibly can, and then that is when you'll unlock best out of him. He is a good player. When he actually played in his position at end of season for Barnsley, he played 5 games on wing, 5 starts even on wing, and scored 5 goals in his last 5 games. So that's what you gain if you actually play him in right position. And they've got a lot of experience. The other signings that they've made just fit that same sort of criteria. Loads of experience. Not even remotely close to being good enough for top 6. Really. Because I do worry about the goals for him. I seriously do. Even with like Humphreys coming in, who can score if you play him out wide, and Cook coming back from injury to a side that got promoted without him effectively, who's been the best player for years. I think goals will be the difference and the thing that stops them from challenging a bit further up table, me personally. Defensively, I think they'll be absolutely fine. Even though they've lost Shepherd, they've obviously brought someone like Curtis Tilton. They've brought some other experienced defenders, someone from Scotland. So they'll not be bad defensively. I think they'll be good. And especially at home, the home factor for Bradford will be big. I said this when Birmingham got relegated, and it applied to Derby. It applied to Charlton to an extent. If you're even remotely half decent and it's a loud-ish place, the smaller sides will come to your ground and shit the pants. They absolutely will. It just is a thing in this division, I'm telling you. It's not a dig at smaller sides, but it just does happen. They go to big grounds and wet the scent. So at home, I think they'll be very good. I think they'll pick a lot of points up at home. But away, I do think they will struggle, especially against the half-decent sides. The top 9 or 10, I think they will struggle against me, and I think that's what's holding them back. And this isn't a dig, by the way. This would be a very good season. If a side that spent 6 years out of the division that they're coming into, you spent 6 years in League 2, coming up to League 1 and being comfortably safe, regardless of the size of your club in comparison to some other like dwellers in this league. If you come up into League 1 and survive with ease, that is a fantastic year. Brilliant year. Staying up is clearly the priority, and smaller clubs, just by looking at the badge, don't mean anything anymore. They've got loads of money. Someone like Wickham, the owner's worth billionaires, and they're actually willing to spend it, unlike Barnsley, for example. But Wickham have got loads of money. Burton have spent some decent brass in last year. Last season, they brought loads of boys in. These smaller clubs have got money to spend. So the fact that I think Bradford will be fine, comfortably, I think that would be a great year for them. They're another one that I think will be in and around mid-table, probably just on cusp of being top half. I think Bradford finished 13th, 14th. But to me, there is a clear top 3 in Yorkshire for who should be near top, which is Barnsley, Sheffield United and Huddersfield, who have all got realistic expectations of getting top 6 at least or going up, really. And in third, I've got Sheffield United. They were playoff finalists last year. Got, what, 90 odd points, and then they had a -2 as well. I think it's the highest ever points tally to not go up. It's definitely one of them. You had 2 teams finishing on 100 points in front of them in Leeds and Burnley, which any other year in history, Sheffield United, I think, could probably have gone up automatically. But there's no point crying over spilled milk, so let's just get on with it. Wilder's gone. I think that's a wrong decision in itself for many, many reasons. But again, it's gone. So what's point moaning about it or speaking about it? Sellers is a good manager. He massively overachieved with Reading at time. Massively. The amount of stuff that was going on behind closed doors with them, I think he did very good. And he dragged a shithole side of that line, really, by defensively being very good. And then he got sacked for it, because that's what he'll do. But I think looking at it from a neutral's perspective, which I don't hate Sheffield United, I couldn't care less, really. I don't like them, let's not get it wrong. But I don't hate them. And I think I can look at this with quite a level head when I try to. But I think the reality is starting to hit that Sheffield United's best players are probably going to leave. Sousa's gone. An absolute monster of a midfielder in Championship. They got £13 million for him, or €15 million. It's roughly the same thing to Wolfsburg. I think they could have got more. I think if they'd have just been in Premier League, effectively, you could have put 20 at least on table, really. But they have got 2 pure profit midfielders in wings waiting to come in, really, with Arblaster and Peck. So the quality, it's definitely going to take a hit, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be a humongous gulf between Sousa to then Arblaster and Peck, quality-wise. And they do like to get stuck in, both of them, but they're not as strong, they're not as quick, they're not as intelligent, and they've not got the same presence that Sousa has got yet. Obviously, yet. So it's going to be an hit on the midfield that he's gone. Hamer, a lot of Sheffield United fans think that he's going to stay. Maybe he does, but there's going to be links until very last day with him. If you keep him, you've got one of the best players in the league still. But there's going to be links until last breath. Ainel Dave, that centre-half, looks likely to leave as well. There's obviously forever interest in Cooper, Burrows, etc., but I don't think they'll leave. I think Ainel Dave, Hamer and Sousa will leave. Me, personally, Sousa's already gone. And to top it all off, they're now apparently skint. I have no idea how these ain't got loads and loads of brass to spend. Me, personally. The Premier League money, when they got promoted in first place, they sold on Giant Burge anyway, and then I think they made net even. Did they not break evens for transfer spend when they got promoted to Premier League anyway? Plus the £100 million that you get for just existing in top flight. They come down, didn't spend loads really last season. Again, they had parachute payments. And then they've spent nothing so far this season, apart from odd like a couple £100,000 on some Bulgarian postmen. And they've got more parachute payments. How can they be skint? They've got a takeover as well. I don't understand how Sheffield United aren't just absolutely minted, mate. And that don't worry me as such, because obviously, going back to Wilder again, they didn't spend loads of money in summer. They brought in like Cooper and Burrows for, what, £5 million combined. If you're selling them now, you're looking at 20 plus, really. O'Hare on a free, Campbell on a free. They're really good with loans, Sheffield United. I mean, they do well with limited money anyway in transfer window a lot of time. But the thing that worries me about them, and why I think that they could just slide down quite fast, is the recruitment strategy that they're going for, which is just loads of Bulgarian children, or free hits, as people like to call them. And that's absolutely fine if you're still bringing in players to the same standard of Burrows and Cooper as well. But they've not done anything like that yet. They've brought a loan in Binden, who's really good centre-half, but he looks like the replacement for Ainel Dave. So again, you're probably weaker in that department, if anything, at the minute. You can afford to go and get these free hits in and just chuck them in under 23s and hope they do well. But these free hits are adding up. $1 million here, $2 million there, 500. They're adding up to see no product off back rate a minute. And I know they're only kids and it's too early to judge them. But if you want to get promoted out of this division, you need players that are ready now. Not bring some kids in and just hope they work out. That ain't the Brentford Moneyball system that everybody refers to all the time. They had a clear plan and brought players in for £5-6 million a pop that were good enough. Not 500 grand, £1 million and just pray, really, just hope. If you want to get promoted out of this division, you need players that are ready for it now. Coopers, Burrows, Sousas, Amers. Not whether these guys have, respectfully. This is going to sound awful, right? And it's going to sound biased and all this, but I'm telling you from a level-headed perspective now, looking from outside in, it feels like Sheffield United have accepted that the chance is gone. It's a very, very strong league at top end. The three that are coming down are all, they've either got better squads than Sheffield United, or they're going to spend more money, or both. You've got Birmingham, who are going to definitely be with Sheffield United. Wrexham won't be far behind. Obviously, teams last season that are fairly big clubs in this division, well, they are big clubs in this division, that hadn't spent money for a while, that are now. West Brom, Middlesbrough, Norwich, obviously not the same stature club, but Millwall are always in and about it. Bristol City, There's a lot of clubs that I think could just easily finish above Sheffield United. And they should still be up and around it. And obviously, keeping him, I think, a lot relies on that. Because if you sell him and just keep winning these free hits and loans and stuff like that, you're going to slide down really fast. And I still think they should be up and around it, like I just said. But as of now, I don't think they're a top 6 side. I think they're marginally outside. I'd say somewhere between 7th to 10th at minute for Sheffield United, me personally. Which means I've got 2 left after the bronze medal for Sheffield United. The team that I think finish 2nd place out of the Yorkshire region next season is Barnsley. Now, sadly, I am a Barnsley fan. And I don't think we'll go up. Seriously, me sitting here right now, I don't think they will get promoted. I think the core at squad and the spine of it is genuinely very good. But the signings so far quite limited in the amount that they've actually brought in. I do like the recruitment that we've gone for. I really do. But it's not enough at the minute. We need a lot more players in. As depth in certain areas is good. I believe that Phillips will leave. But that's about it, me personally. Like I said, I think the spine down middle is comfortably top 6 standard, me personally. When you actually go through it man for man, Cooper, the keeper that we got on loan from QPR, were at Stevenage last season, and they had twice as many clean sheets as Barnsley did. Obviously, Shepherd was best defender in League 2 last season, so you're bringing him in as a new signing. Earl's got a lot of championship experience as well, and I think he's a big presence, big character, big bloke in general. I think he's good. Connell, the saga where Wickham has now ended, and when he's on his day, he's obviously very good. Wickham have got all this money, and they've wanted to buy him for a reason. He's a good player, Connell, and he's still young with a lot of time on his contract. You've got best player in the league, Dunstad up front. McGoldrick, we don't know where he's going to fit in and around it yet. Russell, again, one of the best midfielders in the league easily. A lot of good young uns in Bland and Jorgensen. The spine is very, very good. It's the width that we are lacking at quite a lot, which we still need to bring these players in. As defence last year were worst ever, and we've added to it briefly. Obviously, Cooper, the lone keeper, and Shepherd, who was our player anyway. So we've done very little, and we look miles better already. Now, the main reason that we failed last season so badly was obviously goals conceded and lack of quality at backline, but as lack of depth really, really killed us. When you looked at his bench every game, it were awful. And we've got a lot of young'uns coming through now that do genuinely look quality. And if they're blokes that come off bench for us, immediately miles better than last year again. When you actually look at the minute-by-minute tables for League 1 last season, after the first 10-15 minutes-ish, Barnsley were 4th at least, all the way up until roughly 75th minute. Up until 60th minute, Barnsley was 2nd in the league in terms of minute-by-minute goals. So the starting 11 quality is right at top of league, and that's where he's having a honking defence last season. It is the depth that kills us. When it comes to 60th, 70th minute and you start wanting to make your subs, the starting 11 takes such a hit all the time. That was last season anyway. I think this season that'll change. We still need wingers, and we're definitely not the finished article. Unless it's a club record FIFA done, then he's not going to leave. And I think the foundations are generally there for a very good season. I think we're flying under the radar a bit, which is nice, because that don't really happen when he's in League 1. I think we'll get top 6. Like I said, we need more signings in wide positions at minute, and then who knows. But for right now, top 6, don't think we'll get promoted. But 2nd for the Yorkshire sides, I have got Barnsley. Which means in number 1, and the regional winner for Yorkshire next season is Huddersfield, who last season were a massive, massive failure. Spent loads of money, by the way. The amount that Birmingham spent shadowed how much money Huddersfield spent. We'd never even seen something like that before. Birmingham were its own world. But Huddersfield spent a lot of money. And they had a very, very poor second half of the season. Losing Ellick in January didn't help because I think he's a top half championship standard defender, me. After losing him to Oxford, they've now lost Spencer to Oxford as well. The squad depth is quite poor, I think, Huddersfield's. So why the top? Realistically, when I'm saying all these negative things, why the top? Well, I think the starting 11 has got potential to be best in division. I think it's top 2 easily, or by the time it's finished, I think them and Luton will have the best 11 by some margin, maybe by September 1st. There are genuine championship quality players in that 11 that definitely shouldn't be in this division. I think Goodman, that keeper, is one of them. He was on loan at Wimbledon last season from Palace. He's very good. Ledson at Preston. You don't get that many years and that much game time, season after season after season, for a mid-table championship side, and then immediately don't become good enough. Ledson is quite a boring midfielder. He's not going to run forward and get you loads of goals, but he's very intelligent and he does simple stuff very well. I think he's a great signing, me personally. Marcus Arnott as well. Taylor, that they got from Luton, that striker. It's outrageous quality for League 1, really. And their 11 ain't finished yet, and neither is the depth, but they're not shy with spending. I could see him getting another 5 or 6 players, me, to pack the squad out. I think Huddersfield should be right at tippity top of this mountain in League One, me. Automatic standard. Generally, that's where I'm at. So for me, the regional winner of Yorkshire is Huddersfield, who I think are an automatic promotion contender. I think that is a realistic aim for them. And I will just go through the order for you one last time. In 10th, I have got Wednesday, probably getting relegated. 9th, I've got Leeds, probably getting relegated. Hull and Harrogate just being outside of that. And then Rotherham, Donny, and further up table, Bradford, that I think will be in and around the mid-table side of things. Sheffield United in 3rd, who I think will be just outside playoffs. But I think Barnsley are a top 6 side for next season in League One. And I think Huddersfield are an automatic chaser, really looking at the League One table. But that is Yorkshire. Boys and girls and everything else, absolute pleasure. Love you all. Make sure you like, subscribe if you do enjoy. Please let me know what you think of this, because I've obviously got another like 8 or 9 of these videos lined up. So if you think they're crap, just tell me and I'll not do them. Love you all as always. Thank you. See you in a bit. Goodbye.
I say I'm a man, yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us bit it.